Hey everyone! Today I have with me Christian Feliciano. He's an instructor for the College Apps Academy at Reality Changers. It's a nonprofit in San Diego that serves over 1,000 youth from disadvantaged backgrounds in Southern California every year, guided by the motto, college changes everything. I have to say, I'm also involved with Reality Changers. I volunteer there. I'm very passionate about the organization. A little more about Christian. He was born and raised in Paradise Hills of Southeast San Diego, and he recently graduated from UCSD with a Bachelor's of Science in Chemistry this past June. He is passionate about serving students from underserved backgrounds to one day close the achievement gap in education. Welcome to the show, Christian.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, well, so how did you imagine your career being while you were at UCSD? I mean, you were studying chemistry and now you're at College Apps Academy working with these underserved youth. Did you imagine this being your path?
So I graduated from high school from the Southeast San Diego area, and what really helped me guide a path to college was great teachers. I had a really good physics teacher, and she inspired me to one day go back to my high school and be a science teacher. So for me, I thought, okay, let's get a degree in science. Let's kind of figure things out and hopefully pursue teaching one day. And so throughout college, I actually started with a degree in physics. Because I just really liked physics when I was with her because she inspired me so much. So the first half of my college career, I was kind of doing physics, was kind of trying to figure things out, but I never really had a concrete path until I realized I actually didn't like physics and, went into a dark hole, had to do a lot of contemplation, talk to my college advisors at my college. The first step was, okay, switch out to physics, try something you were doing well in, and it ended up being chemistry. And so to keep it short, I kind of just did chemistry for fun. But at that same time, I had to figure out what were my opportunities? How would I be able to go back to my community, to give back similar to how my teachers did? So I actually took on mentoring opportunities. I started off with my organization at UCSD. It's a Filipino/Filipino American organization. They do mentoring opportunities in Southeast San Diego. So I was like, this is perfect. And I went back to my high school to mentor there, actually. So that was a really great start. But I think in that time, I kind of realized I don't think it was teaching I wanted to do to inspire students. And that's kind of when I realized, there's something more to this mentoring stuff. And so that's when I started going down mentoring and student support services. And so after that one moment, I started looking everywhere. I looked for volunteer organizations. There's this one called Alternative Breaks, where we did a service trip actually to Belize to serve students there in a rural high school. And so that's when I kind of realized, all right, so there's a lot more to teaching than what we normally are used to in education. And that's when it just kind of took off from there. I looked up like volunteer services, mentoring services, just any way to get student support outside the classroom. And that's kind of where my seed for my passion really just like blossomed. That's when I figured out I want to help students succeed inside and outside the classroom. So I took the outside of the classroom approach.
Yeah. Well, you're like, I don't want to just teach them, my knowledge on chemistry, and I want to teach them real life and and everything that you've learned on your own journey. And, I love that you're pulling from your own inspiration from the experience you had from your teachers and that you wanted to pay that forward. Wow, really cool. And then you went after it. You looked for every opportunity out there to get involved. So you further justified the path that you were taking, got more experience in it. And now here you are as an instructor at College Apps Academy at Reality Changers. Right. Well, so for those that don't know what that means, for all of our listeners who are like, okay, wait, how do you follow your passion if you're interested in mentoring young people? What does that look like? What do you do at Reality Changers?
It's funny, my position is actually instructor, and here I am saying, I don't want to teach, So here I am teaching, but it's really about, teaching these students that they can believe in themselves, that they can go to college. Our motto is college changes everything. And so as an instructor at College Apps Academy, half of my duty is, yes, here's curriculum on how to be a very successful college applicant, but especially for our students coming from the City Heights area or other parts of Southeast San Diego, where they might be low income, they might come from families that, are going through struggles or hard situations. A lot of them don't get the messages telling them you can go to college. Oftentimes it's actually the opposite. And so what we do at Reality Changers is try to, really instill this idea that they can believe that they can succeed. And that's what I try to do in my position. So half the time I am teaching, but the other, 30 hours of my job, I'm reaching out to students, I'm scheduling meetings with them to say, hey, I noticed that I think, things are kind of taking a left turn. It's showing in your attitude. How can we move forward and how can I support you until we both can say you're going to college? So that's kind of the things I do on the side. It can be very case by case. Some students need like life motivation speeches. Some students just need me to help them, structure their essays. But I think what's really important is making that connection, because especially with the students of Reality Changers, it's not always about how much I know. It's about how much I care for them. And after I make that bridge with the connection and care, then I can pass on the knowledge I have about getting to college. So it's a lot of really this instilling the idea that I believe in them and that there's someone out there giving them the message that they can succeed until they own it themselves. And they can walk out our building saying, yeah, you know what? My reality has changed. I'm going to succeed and go to college.
Well, and what I love the most about Reality Changers is that it's not just starting on the day that they're applying to college. It's starting all the way into 8th grade, where they join and come to the tutoring program. And once a week, they're there for 3 hours, getting these incredible, life lessons, and also tutoring, meeting with other people that have been to college, so they can see how, those students took that path before them. And then they also get to be in a cohort of other students that are in high school, and they can see the path. They're like, okay, I need to bring up my grades. I need to get involved with organizations. I need to take AP classes. So that way, by the time that they're applying to college, where you and I see them in the room, they already have all these incredible stories about how they volunteered and how they really boosted their grades. And they have these, examples of leadership to share. So.
Right. And it's especially I think very admirable, because they come from, I want to say, like really hard backgrounds. If I'm being a little transparent here, some students I work with, they face struggles of being, undocumented, or some students, face low income struggles. And so I think for me, my job isn't just to make them a great applicant, it's to help them own their story too. And it's just like you said, developing their leadership, or even recognizing where leadership is already in their life as they're overcoming these odds. And so I think it's really special to me, because Reality Changers started off as a gang prevention program, soon evolved into what it is today, a college access program serving basically a good amount of Southern California. And so it's just really an honor to be part of this organization.
Well, so let's break it down for our listeners. What is a day in your life like? You wake up, what do you do?
Right. Okay. So, well, that's very interesting. Well, before I start my work,
I know you like the morning routine. I want to hear it. Let's share the morning routine.
And I have to say, I was listening to the podcast where you interviewed about the miracle morning, because I resonate with that. And so for me, my typical day,
shout out to Natalie Janji.
Shout out to Natalie. I know she's a chemistry student as well, or was a chemistry student. So
oh my gosh, there must be some connection there between chemistry and miracle mornings.
Right. Well, I can definitely attest to that, because for me, I know that I usually have long days at RC. Typically, I have about 10 hours to my day at work. And so I know that whatever I want to get done personally has to be done in the morning. So I wake up very early, around 5. I go to the gym, make my bed when I'm back, make my food, so that by the time I'm in the office by 9, I'm squared away. I'm ready for my day. Now, in terms of what I do as an instructor, now that we're in spring, it's a little more flexible, but the things that I normally do, of course, like lesson prep. So figuring out how do I deliver my lesson on college applications, or figuring out college support for my students that's very accessible, so they don't nod off, because it is an evening after their school day. So I try to figure that out, usually dedicate an hour or two to that. Some students come to me for support on their essay applications, so I also offer guidance. I can't write it for them, but I do my best to, coach them in the right direction. a lot of other times I do get, I want to say, case by case situations that students just need support. So they come into the office for a 1 hour meeting, or we make a phone call. And more recently, I've been trying to dip my feet into other parts of the organization. We have the alumni network, and we're currently trying to figure out how do we engage alumni professionally. So we're putting on a conference for them coming in June. And so I'm part of that planning committee. So I'm thinking about how can I contribute to that planning. And more recently, because I work with seniors, I think about how do we get our juniors ready for our program. So more recently, I've been trying to develop, or at least figure out what's been done in the past for our juniors, and try to just really put something big together that we can have as a sustainable model to transition our juniors from college town to their senior year in college apps. So I've been trying to dip my feet in there. It's all in the works, more to come, more to be explored. But the beauty of being in Reality Changers, and especially in a nonprofit, is that I can wear a lot of hats. So not only am I an instructor, I'm also a mentor and coach for my students, but I can also use my past experience in program coordination to put on some new programs or help in what's already happening. So there's definitely a lot of work that can be done at RC because there's just so many places to do work. And outside of my instruction role, I get to be planning really great programs for our organization.
Well, it sounds like you get to be really creative.
Oh yeah, very creative indeed.
And it sounds like every day is different, and you never know what challenges a student might come to you with, and you
Right.
never know, what new initiative or project that you're going to get to be working on. But that's kind of cool. It seems like it's always changing, and you do get to wear all those different hats, which is exciting.
And just like you said, I think, especially with the student cases, every student's different. Every student has different needs. I noticed I had to be a little creative myself in seeing, well, how do I really make sure my students want to come to our program night? Especially now that college apps is over, I know a lot of them are needing extra support in academic classes. So as a tutor on the outside, I tutor on the side. I bring my tutoring experience to RC2 to say, hey, you want to get some tutoring help? I'll offer it if you give me an hour of scholarship. So thinking creatively, how do I give these students, opportunities to work that's just win-win situations all the time?
An hour of them filling out scholarship applications.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So I love that you're like, if you put in the time to help yourself get scholarship applications, get your
Yeah,
scholarship applications in. So not only does RC help students actually get into college, but it's also about being able to afford college and so apply for
mhm,
scholarships and get students to see how that works, that whole
right,
process, which is complex. And I mean, yeah, you create these presentations that makes it accessible for them. I
right.
wanted to say though that I think you really do prepare the juniors, having seen it from the uh, the high school level where you have them share their stories at meetings. It's like you're
Mhm,
preparing them. You're preparing them for the day they're going to give their essay. They're going to write their essay for college by
right.
sharing their story. So I feel like you already are doing that, but I'm excited to see what comes next.
Oh yeah.
Well, so what do you do? I mean, for listeners out there who are like, I really do care about young people and I want to be a mentor, but
Mhm.
what do you do when you have someone who's dealing with so many life challenges that they just really can't pull themselves out, or they feel like, you know, that college is not for them? Do you have those really challenging situations? How do you handle those cases?
Even as a college apps instructor, I'm still figuring out how do I just fulfill the needs of my students so that they realize holistic success, period. So for me, it really goes back to just making those connections first and foremost. I'm very connection driven. I think it's pretty much due to all the mentoring I've done. Um, I really take an empathy based approach because I know that so many people go through so many different things, and not all the time can I relate to them. But letting them know that I'm here to listen, I'm here to try to understand, and I'm here to be with you to say our next steps are going to be getting you where you need to be, figuring out, it's okay to not be okay, and then after we embrace that feeling, we can move forward together. And so, whether it's my students that want to go to the military, I tell them, yeah, you know what, that's true. You have your options. You can go straight to military after high school. Let me also present you the option of going to a 4-year, doing an ROTC program, and then being an officer with a higher pay grade. than what you would get if you did 4 years in the military right after. So really, I like to present options for my students. Because at the end of the day, just like how they submit their applications, they have to press the button, they have to make the choice. But for me, it's really just understanding that they have the agency to make those options into decisions is what really drives me forward. Because it's just like you said, sometimes college isn't for everyone, and that's okay. And I challenge myself to realize that a lot too. I think what's more important to me is just letting them understand they have agency over their definition of success. Even though we do a lot of 4-year college prep in our program, we also think about community college students too, because sometimes the option to pay for 4 years, even with scholarships, might not be available to these students at the time. So we tell them, yeah, you know what, community college is an option too. It's not a bad thing. Look at all the pros. You can save money in your first 2 years, and then you can get a bachelor's after your transfer. Transfer rates tend to be, historically higher than the rates of acceptance for first year undergraduates. So, we do lay out the facts for them. And then from there, I think what's really important is that they make an informed decision with the right guidance behind them.
For those listening that are like, I want to get involved in a nonprofit, how did you make it happen? How did you get your foot in the door at RC? I know you had a lot of experiences leading up to that and mentoring, but how many other places did you apply to? Was this your dream job? What was that college, from college to career path like for you?
During my last year of undergrad, I was actually getting really worried. This past year, I was like, what am I going to do afterwards? What does a career look like?
Dun, dun. I think there's a lot of listeners that can relate to that. Yeah. What am I going to do after graduation? Oh, that moment.
Oh, yeah. And I think this is applicable for anyone at any age, whether you are in college, whether you're in high school or you're a graduate. Really try to find mentors and networks. So the thing that really helped me in my last year was going into my last year, I applied for a fellowship in student affairs. I was looking to get opportunities in student support services because for me, if I can get into that field, that meant I can do access work to college. I can do mentoring work. So for me, I said, I need to find someone with experience that knows a lot more than I do to guide me in the right direction. So I looked for a mentor, and I swear to you, this is one of those, the stars have aligned, the universe is watching me kind of things, because the mentor I found actually went to my same high school. He knows my oldest brother, and he actually worked at RC before me, alongside a lot of other organizations we worked together in. I found that he did TRIO programs, I did TRIO programs, which is a federally funded government program for college access and support. And just a lot of other things that paralleled so well that made me say, I'm so glad I did this because now I have the right guidance. So he actually was the one that told me, I think you should look into Reality Changers. They have everything you want to do and more. Doing the college access work, especially in high risk, underserved neighborhoods. And so that put me on the radar for Reality Changers. I applied for a couple positions there. At the time, I couldn't take them on or be considered because I was a student. And so during my job search, I looked around. And I think what's really important was that there was this one job that I, at the time, thought was for me. I applied for a position at USD to work for a TRIO program. It's called the Mcnair Scholars Program. They work with undergraduates from first-gen backgrounds to pursue PhD programs. And so I applied for that program. I got really far into the interview. It was a universe aligns kind of moment because the director worked under my mentor in the past. And so everything was pretty much set to go. But when things came to, I didn't get the job. And so for me, that kind of told me, one, humble yourself. You're not going to get everything you want. But two, to trust the process. Because even though I wasn't picked, I had to realize maybe I wasn't the right person for the position, but most so the position wasn't the right one for me. So that forced me to look even harder. Eventually, I networked around. I met someone, and a lot of stars alliance kind of thing, where I met someone that was really interested in education. Happens to be my partner now. That said, hey, like, have you heard of Reality Changers? I said yes. She told me there was a position open. Made a connection. I talked over the phone with someone in the College Apps Academy, and before I knew it, I had an interview, told them I knew Noel, who was my mentor. Turns out Noel directed the academy before, had a great interview, and now I'm here. And so it took a lot of networking, took a lot of mentoring, took a lot of humbling myself, but just reminding myself that, especially since I'm pursuing my passion career, I have to trust the process, and that if I am going to be in the right position, it's going to come to me at the right time. So even though I felt like my job search took a little longer than I'd like, it was the right length of time for me to find the position for me.
Are you open to sharing how long it took? Because I think that there's people out there that they graduate, they're like, I still don't know, or I'm getting those rejections. And they don't see it as humbling. They're like, oh man, the doubt starts to seep in. Like maybe I'm not the right fit. And the fact that you can see it that way, did you see it that way then? Or are you able to see it that way now, looking back?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Can you be real? Was it really tough to have that? I mean, it seemed like, oh, the stars are aligning. You've got this. I think we've all been there. And
Right.
it sucks. You're like, what?
Yeah.
I was perfect for this.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you found your way, and it seemed like it wasn't that traditional route that you imagine it to be, which is that, you go through the application process. It's usually this twisty, turny way of networking and just the kind of things that you're exposed to. Like you probably didn't know about that program until someone else opened your world to it. So it's like the opportunities that you end up taking are the ones that you didn't even know existed.
If I include my spring quarter, I think it took me 9 months to find a job. And so for me, it's just like you said, hindsight's 2020. Looking back at it now, I can reflect and be, positive and optimistic and just real with myself that the things happened the way they did. But during that time, it was crushing. I think after I got the phone call for the position that I wanted at USD, after I got that phone call rejection, the first thing I did, I was actually working a summer program for College Access at the time. I had to leave my workshop. I had to sit down somewhere. The first person I called was my mom, and I broke down because it's very real, especially since I thought that I'm putting my all into my passion career, that, the things I would want would come to me fast. So it hit me like a train because I had to realize it's going to come to you at the right time. But of course, absorbing that in that moment, it hurt. I asked myself, what am I doing wrong? Like, am I even qualified for this? I even had to check myself and say, I'm even competing against some master's degree candidates right now for the positions that I wanted. And so in that moment, I felt imposter syndrome. Like I was like, I'm not enough. I can't do this. I had to even take a break from the job search sometimes, but it took a great support system to remind me that I am enough. Someone literally had to shove my resume in my face and tell me, you have research experience in education, you have mentoring experience, coordination experience, too many things. Shut up and get back on your job search because I believe in you.
Oh my God. I want every listener right now to go back to your resume where you bragged all day long about all of your accomplishments and look at that every time if you face a rejection and just remind yourself that you are qualified, you are enough, and you will find something. And it may take 9 months, and that's okay, because I see Christian show up to College Apps Academy with the best attitude. I can tell that he's following his passion just in the way that he connects with the students, the way he delivers his presentations on the lesson that day. He's been in your shoes and he knows what it's like, and he has faced that rejection, even though he had all these experiences and, was the model candidate. That's just the way it is. And it's a windy, twisty road to find your passion career. But I think that because you're so passionate about it, you kept going and you kept on that path, and that's how you got to where you are today. Well, so exactly. What's next for you? Where do you see yourself going, with RC or past RC? Have you thought about where you want to go next?
I'm trying to expand what I can do in the organization now with our juniors. And so I'm trying to push for more involvement with them. I know that we have a lot of experience trying to support them in their transition to college apps in the past. And so I'm trying to, in my own initiative and hopefully a sustainable initiative, try to bridge that path so that for myself and anyone that comes after me, we have something sustainable. And not to say that we don't have that already, but I want to solidify it because since I'm one of the instructors at headquarters, I want to make sure that I'm actually making contact with all students at headquarters, not just my seniors. And so that's kind of my initiative right now with the work. So hopefully that'll be rolling out within a year. Piloting something this summer, to be explored. Keep an eye out for that. But in terms of what's next, I do want to go for a master's. I'm actually studying for the GRE right now, trying to squeeze that in on weekends when I'm not working crazy hours, along with my other job. But I'm trying to, really prepare for a path in master's. I think a dream college right now for me is Stanford. My students actually inspired me to apply to Stanford because I helped them write so many of their essays, and also how to motivate them too. And so in that moment, I actually motivated myself, and I was like, wow, I can actually try for this because, I'm helping other students do this. Why don't I ride the wave with them and hopefully see myself there with them? That'd be kind of cool. And so a program I see there, they have a dual master's in education / MBA. And I thought, you know what, that's crazy. I never knew it existed, but half the things I did in my career so far, I didn't know exist. And so I'm like, the sky's the limit.
I was
And
just
here
going
I
to
am
say, it
trying for
sounds like
that.
you're very entrepreneurial in your position at RC too. Which,
Mm,
for me, getting to see you as an instructor, I don't get to see that part. So it's really cool to hear about that on the podcast. But, realizing for your, having run the College Apps Academy, you're realizing, okay, wait, how can we pull in the juniors? How can we get them more prepared? And then solving
right.
that challenge. It's very entrepreneurial. You're problem solving and you're creating something new that didn't already exist. You're making it happen in the organization that you're in. That's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. And I definitely want to shout out to the people that have put in things at work right now, especially Kristen Session. She's my manager for the curriculum, and she does a really great job of giving us junior curriculum. And so my next step is just to say, what do we have currently? How can I volunteer my time and energy, and let's move forward. And so it's, I love taking initiative. I think that's what it's, and something tangible for the listeners out there too, really taking initiative. That's what kind of, I guess I want to say, boosted my experience. I think the big one for me was how do I how do I say this? Make myself different from, the average educator. And not to say average educators are bad, but I wanted to stand out. And so when I was at UCSD, I looked around. Besides just mentoring opportunities, I said, academics in education do research. And so I came across the research opportunity at UCSD. And in that class, I was able to work with a school that received a $10 million grant to help a school go under school reform. And they serve a mainly Latinx population, 70% low income. And I was like, wow, this exists, So taking the initiative really kind of put me where I am today. And I feel like it's going to help me and continue to help me and hopefully help others be in that position of success. So that's my biggest tip. Take the initiative, step outside your comfort zone, because if you're like me and you're trying to find out new things, you'll be surprised to find what's out there.
I want to know what you brought as your passion object and how it reflects your
Mm.
passion.
This is actually a note card, but it looks like a donut. I'm not sure if the lighting can
It
do it
looks like a
justice right now.
CD.
Yeah, it looks like a CD. It opens up like a CD, but this is actually an affirmation note from one of my first students, actually. And so reason why this is so significant to me is I'm not really a person about receiving affirmations. I like doing my work and just moving forward. But in this program, shout out to Monterey Peninsula College's Upward Bound program. That was my first actual professional job in student support services. They took me in because I displayed my passion. I got to be an academic mentor for students in a 4-week summer-long program. And that's where I realized, this is where I make connections. This is how I bridge my knowledge to their experiences by making connections. And so during those 4 weeks, I had 50 students, live with them in the dorms. I was their teacher's assistant in one of their classes, graded all their work and tried to motivate them with new study skills and telling them they could succeed. And at the end, one of my students wrote me this note and told me she was very thankful for everything that I did. Everything from the dance workshops I hosted. I am a dancer on the side. So I hosted some dance workshops for them, but also just really giving them the tools to succeed. was what she was very thankful for. And she made it known. And this touched my heart and told me, this is why I do it. And so the fact that I still have this and, a bunch of other ones really pushes me forward, because I'll be honest, sometimes like I sit down, I get tired and I say, man, this work's really exhausting. But I think about, what's the end result? And it's the success of the students that I serve and seeing them be empowered to be the best version of themselves. And that's what really drives me forward. And, it all started with this.
That's beautiful. Oh my gosh. And yeah, I think that's so important to think about the end result, the impact that you're making, especially when the work gets hard.
It can be very exhausting, especially when I'm dealing with, the future of another person. But even as I go forward, having those little reminders, even from my students, like, just thank you for everything. I see you work hard for us. And I'm like, it, I'm working hard. I might have a white hair right here, but it's all for you. It drives me forward, because that's why I'm here. I actually came from a low income background myself. I had a family that experienced gang violence, and it scared me. But what scared me more was that there's other people out there that might be experiencing this. And I think it was a privilege that I got to go to college. And that's when I said, let me turn it around and think about who else can I help get to my position from where we are. And so that really drives me forward, especially with our RC students. They have beautiful stories with beautiful struggles, and I want them to experience beautiful success.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how you said, it's hard, it's really hard work. And I think that when you are following your passion, it is hard work. But it's the best work.
Right. Yeah. And I'll be honest here, like I have those moments where I look at, chemistry job salaries and I'm like, man, that's a high number. But I think, those salaries can't give me what I have right now pursuing my passion, happiness, fulfillment. And during those times where I don't fully look back, but I look over my shoulder at the chemistry salaries, I'm like, what? Everything in front of me right now is everything that I need in my life. And that's pursuing my passion. And so that's just why I'm so thankful to be where I am today with RC.
Wealth is 360, it's not just a number.
Right. I think personal, emotional wealth is really important. If I'm happy doing what I'm doing, I can make it work. I do have a side job because I'm like, yeah, I need to save up. I need to make sure that I have sustainable income. But, especially when it comes to my passion, I always tell myself, just got to make it work. The people that inspire me are those that, like we have those big hitters that look like they're really successful on things like Instagram, but what's not always shown is their past struggles of how they got to where they were. It wasn't always like butterflies and sunshine. They had to make it work for their passion, and that's why they're so happy now. So to me, I'm like, what? It's a model that's worked. Why can't I do it myself? Make my passion work, and eventually the money will come later, because that's not my goal. My goal is not money. My goal is my passion.
And you're on that path. You're so early on in your career and you already have a vision for your future and where you can go. I mean, these are the years to be taking those risks and not just sitting back in that cushy job right off the bat, because if you are putting in the time and you're building up those experiences and you're taking that initiative, you're creating that story for yourself that's going to help you execute on this vision that you have and really make an exponential impact.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really excited for you. Okay, well, I want to leave with one piece of career advice that you have for college students today.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Big one. Find a mentor as soon as possible. I'm serious. Even if it's like just a mentor at your first job, I really believe in the ability of someone to pass on their knowledge to you. Because if I'm being honest, I didn't find a mentor. I didn't take that initiative till my last year at UCSD. And I experienced more growth in that 1 year than I did in all 4 years of my undergraduate career. Because someone was able to say, what are you looking for? Let's find it. I'm not going to do it for you. You're going to do it yourself. Here's what you can do in the field. Here is the good side. Here is the real side. Where do you find yourself? That really boosted me. And really to shout out to my mentor, Noel Salunga, big big influencer for me, continues to be a big influencer. He had a big impact on RC, and I aspire to leave that kind of change. And so what's really game changing is finding that mentor, because you'll learn what it means to network from finding a mentor. Everything you need in terms of professional skills and pursuing your career, especially your passion career, find someone else that's done it too. Ask them for their guidance and knowledge, and next thing you know, that's your guidance and knowledge. And then you passed it on to someone else because you got it from someone else.
Mentor is not just going to walk down the street and say, hey, I want to be your mentor. You have to go and seek this person. That is such a beautiful takeaway. I just want to say the fact that you give shout outs like warms my heart. It's like, I feel like we're on like the Oscars or something and you're giving like an award speech.
I feel like I'm an award speech right now with Find Your Passion Career podcast. So again, thank you for having me here, Amanda. This is great.
Well, thanks for being here. Well, everyone, do exactly what Christian said. I want to leave you all with that one takeaway, which is go and get yourself a mentor. It's not going to happen instantly, but go and seek that person. And maybe you have to seek 10 people that are in the career that you desire or that's doing something that you admire. And reach out, someone that's been there before, that's been in your shoes before, that can guide you. And that's how you're going to see that growth for yourself.
Exactly.
Is connecting with that mentor and having that meaningful connection. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Christian. Remember, everyone, when you follow your passion, doors open.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you all for listening. I really appreciate your listen and for subscribing. And if you have a chance, please leave a review. If you have any questions, email me at amanda@findyourpassioncareer.com. And if you have some questions that you want to ask future guests about how to follow your passion, please leave those questions on the website as well. And signing off. Bye, everyone.
Later.